Hello everyone, welcome back to MVM. My name is Jeremy and this is your first time here. Welcome, and for my subscribers, thank you so much for sticking with us for so long. And with that, we are here for a review for Endeavor Deep Sea. Now, full disclaimer, I did do a sponsor video, which was a live stream for the game. I wanted to show you the game, and it was sponsored at the time, but here we are with a final copy, and things are, of course, always subject to change because it's a prototype, and things are always altered. Even the graphic design is altered. All kinds of stuff gets altered. So I just want to let you know that. Of course, there is bias in there, but honestly, I tell you how I feel about the game, good, bad, or ugly. That's what it is, and you can decide for yourself. But anyway, Endeavor, 1 to 5 player game. This one is an ecological twist, a re-implementation of Endeavor, the previous Endeavor. I think it was called Age of Sail, and it came out by the same publisher, and that was a new version of Endeavor. So now we are Endeavor, refresh version of Endeavor, and now we have Endeavor Deep Sea. And this game has some of that DNA in it. I was not a fan of the theme, and I refused to play the previous game, so this is kind of my introduction. It's a 1 to 5 player game, plays in about 90 minutes. I've played it at all player counts except for 5, and I'll talk about how I feel about those player counts and the different modes, because this is a solo, cooperative, and competitive game, and it has different scenarios, not a campaign, just different scenarios you can play to change up the experience each time. So what happens in this game? Well, you are trying to build a team and you're trying to make the most environmental impact. This game has a very eco-friendly approach to it. Minimal, if not any plastic. I don't think there's any plastic in this game. It's made out of recyclable or biodegradable things, so it's kind of shooting for that theme. So stick with me on that, and you can decide if that's something that's for you. But basically, you're going to be taking actions on your board. Let me get this thing out of here. Anyway, you're going to be taking actions with your team, and you're going to be developing your team over 6 rounds, 7 if you're playing solo or cooperative. And you're just going to be taking actions and making a different type of board based on player choices. And then you're going to be moving about, upgrading your workers, moving across impact boards depending on how the scenario is, and also laying out maps that will go from the surface level all the way down to the deep, where you'll find all these crazy creatures and different things like that. It's not like you're fighting creatures or anything like that. It's just that it shows up in the artwork, all the crazy things that can show up way in the deep. With that, a lot of other things come up. But we should probably start with just explaining the game all the way through. So you're going to be playing in 6 rounds, like I said before. And each round, you're going to start developing your team, and you're also going to start developing your board that will help you with the selections that you make during the game. Each player is going to have one of these boards, and these boards have different tracks that will be on here. And of course, if you love tracks, this game got tracks on tracks on tracks. Anyway, but you're going to be doing this simultaneously. And the first one is this reputation here. That's how you're going to you're going to have a kind of a smorgasbord, a layout of different characters that you can take. You're going to take one each round, but depending on how far you are on this track, it's going to allow you to do 1-star, 2-star, 3-star. Just think a person's. And what they do is they have specific actions. They're also going to help you move up on other tracks as well. And the further you get on these tracks, by the way, you're going to get more points for at the end of the game. But this unlocks a lot of different things. So now we step down to the second one here. You're going to need action discs in this game to place on those workers to take actions. Well, this is where you get them. You'll get a whole bunch of them. The further you go, the more you get. The next one is that at the end of the round, you're going to have stuff to pull off. So you can pull them off of the people that you have them on, so that you have more room to take more actions. At some point, you'll just have a ton of them, or not, depending on your choices, I guess. So you got to pay attention to that as well. And then finally, this is your subs. So you'll have different subs that you're putting out there. We'll kind of get to that. But this also determines how deep you can go and how far you can go when you take an action. The other stuff here is just where you stuff your research here, and that will help you purchase things and do journaling. So off to the board. you're going to be taking actions. And on your turn, you'll take one action, you'll place a disc on something. You also have a free action of using one of your scuba things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you're going to put your action on one of your workers and take said action. Now you have your captain person, you're kind of like your leader, scuba leader person that will have all access to all actions, and you use them. Got to watch out when you use them because you don't want to get stuck where you can't use that flexibility. But as you move up in the ranks with these characters, these different types of characters, and you actually have a good set of choices each round, you're going to have more actions unlocked. And if you upgrade them, they're going to sometimes have two actions or two actions that you can take, or they'll have two choices that you can make. So you'll have different, you'll be able to open up more options. But generally you place a disc, you can move based on how far you are in your scuba, your kind of, I'm going to call it the scuba track. I think it's called Ingenuity. We'll call it the Scoob track. But you're going to have the movement track. You also have the ability to, and as you move, you're going to be able to develop your board and get benefits. You'll also be able to do some sonar. Sonar is how the board develops. You're going to have different ranges of tiles, these big tiles that you can take out. And the tiles range from surface level and then level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. And as you get deeper and deeper and deeper, the benefits get sweeter, the things get darker, but there's also a lot of different things that you can do in the game that open up quite a bit, and that's where you're going to see where the game plays out different every single time. So as you pull a scenario out, you'll have specific things, and one of these things, and this is why I'm kind of jumping around, the scenario will tell you, hey, like you need to be in lane A, B, or C, okay, and you also need to be at length, row whatever, row 2 or row 3 to score points. So the more discs you have for researching, journaling, and you're putting them on the board, the more points you can score potentially. Like I said, this is a scenario game, and we'll get to that part later. But you also have different things like you can scuba dive, and you can pull out one of these discs, you flip it over, it's got research. That research, it can be used for all kinds of stuff, but the most important part is you have a choice between taking action and the research. So that's just something that you have to think about during the game. And this is a tight game. You're going to have moments where you may not even know what to do, or you can't do anything because you don't have enough discs. You've been chasing certain strategies and they're working or not working. This game gets real tight. You almost feel like you can't do stuff, but then you can as you start to upgrade people. Another one is called journaling. You'll have a display of different cards. Those cards will give you the ability to level up your workers. So you'll flip them over, your employees, whatever your team, you'll flip over one of them, and you may get additional benefits, but it also opens up actions like I talked about before. There's even scoring in there. There's even actions that you can get from these journal cards. So there's a lot of that in there, and it's a decent sized deck, so you're not gonna get them all every game. But the sweet deal is that sometimes people can benefit, everybody can benefit from it as well. So journal action, very important action, and also contributes to some of the type of scoring that you're going to have in the game. Now the big one is conservation, because this is where like the chain part of the game comes. You'll have different spots where you have to use the research that you got from those tokens, and you will spend that in order to take actions and put specific pieces on there. So now you're spending your discs to add to this conservation cause. When you do that, this is a real interesting part, you're going to get something when you place down, and then you'll get something maybe when you continue to chain. But when you chain, you can get those benefits on both ends and then the one in the middle. So then you're having all this stuff happen, and then you go back to your player board, and you're moving up on these tracks. So now you've opened up more discs that you can get every round. Now you've opened up more opportunity to pull things off of your character, so you have more flexibility for next round. You have more freedom. Now you can move around more, and you can add another sub. So now you add another sub, and now you have two ways to move around, and you can move deeper. That's what you're trying to do, is expand your board. And that's where, I would say about the third round, you start to feel like, whoa, I can do stuff, right? If you focus on it correctly. Or why is that person doing something and I can't do it, right? So that's the kind of feeling you get. I know everybody has that Euro moment. Like I always say, sometimes I'm just around for the player count because I'll be watching people be like, I do this, I do that. And then I'll be like, all right, 2 points. So I have that. You may have that feeling sometimes, but this is, we'll talk about that a little bit later. You're building up to something. You're building up to something. Game will feel like it's ending swiftly. This is what you're doing over the course of 6 rounds, but what else can you do? And that's the impact board. So one of the things I'm mentioning within this conservation part is there are impact icons. Those impact icons lead to pieces that you put on the board, the scenario board for this one here. And the scenario boards have different layouts and different things, ways to score points on there. Because when you start to play stuff on the impact spots, you will unlock more things and you'll also score points. And it's kind of like a race where you can actually piggyback off of people. So there's a little bit of timing to that. And it also sets up the layout for the game. So you kind of know what type of board you're making, or you have to do a certain thing. I remember there's one scenario where you can't go below level 3. So then you kind of have this long board and then you can only go so deep. Whereas the beginning scenario, you can go pretty much as deep as you want to. And you probably incentivized to do so. So there's definitely some differences in the scenarios, and then also with that comes different scoring. And that falls for solo and co-op. They have their different scoring conditions in there as well. And all that is on that card, all of it. All that information is on that card. And as you go through these different scenarios, you'll see different ones and how those play out. We'll talk about that more when we get to the end review portion. But that's what's going on. You're going to score points based on your board. You're going to score points based on where you are on that impact area, and then also majorities on that on the side area of the impact card, telling you which columns and rows and things and discs and ships score the most points. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's get to the review part. Of course, with games, I always tell people nobody gets a free pass. There's always some things that are good and not good. So let's go ahead and cover those. One, I don't like the cooperative mode. I don't want to play this with anyone for a common goal. But I will say the solo mode is very, very good, but it's also very hard. Okay, and it may feel like it's made for co-op so that you can get things done, but I've squeezed some things away with the solo for things. I just want you to know with the solo for a decent win, it's just very challenging. And I should mention in the solo mode and cooperative mode, you have these scenarios these scoring options that you're going to open up. So it gives you more scoring options. But also there will be some kind of disasters that happen every round when you get to the second half of the game. So you already have a tight game that's a hard game, and all of a sudden it's even harder. So unless I'm playing it wrong, I'm sorry, that's how it ends up. And then of course in cooperative, you're kind of combining your score to get things done. It just feels like, of course, you have more people, it's going to be easier to get things done. But I don't want to do that. I would say I don't recommend this game at 5 players, although I'm sure it works. I have not played it at 5 players. I think 4 is good enough, but I also would rather play it at 3, 2, and 1. So I want to give that suggestion to you, even though this is a 90-minute game at most. I think with the 4-player game and teaching, you're going to get to 2 hours. I think with a 5-player game, you're going to make this design longer than it should be at the table. I will also say, if you play scenarios 1 and 2 over and over again, you will think this game is very samey. Branch out. I will tell you though, if you play 1 and 2 all the time, you're probably not going to have fun all the time. Okay, so really make sure you move past that. And also, one of the things is that I don't really love the art. I like it. I like it. It's okay. Some of the tiles with the deep stuff, those are cool, and the iconography is cool. But iconography is always clean with their games, always. But overall, I just found like the art was okay. I was looking for something a little bit more, I don't know, just better. It's just better, but it's not terrible at all. I guess that's not like a deal breaker. That's because the game is awesome, all right? Like, the game is awesome. Like, let me just count the ways, okay? That's the box I just knocked over. First of all, I'll start small. Iconography, very clean, very easy to understand. They even have a sheet that explains some of the more difficult tiles that you're laying out, which is always a plus. The scenarios, I like that this is not a campaign, but it's different scenarios and they feel different. You're chasing specific goals. You have to make different types of choices every time. And I'm not spoiling it. I'm not giving away what some of these scenarios do, but I encourage you to switch it up every time. Whoever owns the rules and teaches this game, do that and try other scenarios. Get prepared. That would be your thing. I also just like the system and the progression of the game. It makes me want to get good. I want to get better at this game so I can enjoy the experience even more, because I'm enjoying it. It never overstays its welcome. I enjoy it every time. I like the pace of the game. It opens itself to other strategies as long as you don't play the same scenarios over and over and over and over again, especially in a short window when games are exciting and everybody's hype about everything. You can definitely find a way to appreciate this design over a long period of time because of the scenarios. And maybe they release more. Hey, are you going to release more? Anyway, I'll be there for that. So sign me up for some more of Endeavor because now I see why this design was so popular back in the day. I'm sure that they made improvements, but hopefully that I give you a gist of what's going on in this game. There's probably a lot of familiar, but it definitely, from what I know of that other form of design, what I do know, the little that I do know, it definitely has been improved. In fact, I'm gonna give you a testimonial real quick from someone I was playing this with. They're very rarely a Eurogamer, and I sat down with them and they were like, but Endeavor is one of my favorite games of all time. And I played it with him, and he said, this is better. I was like, wow. He just got done. He was just like, this is better. I like this better. It's like, wow. So that's very interesting. It was just like a very different person that I did not expect him to like this year. I thought I was dragging him in, and I hit the chord. And he just said that. And I was like, I'm going to remember to say that when it's time to review this. But anyway, do you have any questions? If I was given a score, I'd give it a 9. I think it's going to be one of the top 10 games of the year for me. As a matter of fact, I know it is. You can stamp it. It's absolutely amazing game. It's going to challenge you. It's going to make you want to get good. And you're going to have a damn good time. At least I have. And everybody I've played it with has. All right, I'm stalling for time. You take care, party people. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Feel free to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And with that, party people, take care. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on MVM. See you next time.